My name is Kelsey. I'm going to be your tour guide today for our Bucket Brigade tour. We're going to learn about some different things. We're going to learn about turbidity, which is what makes the water brown in this area. And we're going to learn a bit about sand dunes and also about pollution and why it's bad to litter. I do have a hand sanitizer here if you guys need hand sanitizer throughout the tour, and I have gloves if you'd like to use gloves. But per CDC guidelines, we are going to have to stay 6 feet away from each other during the tour so that we don't have to wear masks. But since it's outside, as long as we stay a distance away from each other, then masks are not needed. So if you guys would like to, you can grab a bucket. This one here is mine, so you guys can grab any of those. And we'll head out. We're going to start out in the water, trying to catch some crabs or fish or anything we can find out there. And then we're going to go shell searching for a little while and identify some of these animals. And then we'll talk about the dunes and walk back there. I don't know what these mounds are from, but this is from a clam called a coquina clam, also known as a butterfly clam. They dig underneath the sand like this, and then they'll make a tube so that they can circulate water through, and it's like a Y-shaped tube because they have 2 siphons that they use through it. So if you want to, you can carry your buckets or you can put them down back here. And we're going to take our nets and see if we can catch fish. I usually stay back here in the slush zone where the waves come up onto the sand, because that's where a lot of the animals are. So they're being pushed up with a jelly ball in here, the comb jelly. It's a gooseberry. They're one of the smaller species of comb jellies in the area. If you could see it with light lighting it up, it actually has 2 feathery arms so that it can swim around and collect microscopic animals, and then it pulls in its arms and then it eats the little animals that it pulls. The swimming crab, which you can tell because its back legs are flat, which is what they use to swim around in the water. So they don't just crawl around on the bottom like other crabs do. They actually will swim and hunt for food. That one is a speckled swimming crab. Okay, so like this one has a hole in the back of it. And these holes are made by snails, these guys, and they make them by licking at the shell. They have 7 rows of teeth on their tongue, and they just keep licking it until eventually it makes a hole, and then they'll eat whatever is inside. So I like to think that it's nature making necklaces, because you can easily string something through it and make like a little mermaid necklace. There's stuff here as well, so it's possible that could be a snake hole, so I wouldn't go digging in them or anything like that. But yeah, you can see really nicely, since the sand is so dry today, all the tracks, and then in that one back there, you can see the way that they make balls of sand to transport them out of their hole. So these are called ghost crabs, or sand crabs, another name for them. They're called ghost crabs because they are about the same color as the sand, and they can run about 10 miles an hour. So it's very hard to see them during the daytime, but people will come out at night and use flashlights, and then you can see them a lot better. These are some natural sand dunes that we have in Galveston. There used to be sand dunes lining the entirety of the Galveston Bay here, but some of them were wiped out in one of the hurricanes. We lost about 30 feet of sand, and it took a lot of those dunes with it. So they built the seawall over there to act as like an artificial dune. Can you guys think of any ways that dunes might help the environment around here?
Prevent erosion coastline.
Yeah, very good. They prevent erosion. Do a demonstration to demonstrate the importance of having things like these this plant debris on the beaches and how that can help us build dunes. Have a lot of this plant material in it, or if it was just sand?
Plant material.
Yeah, so the plant material one definitely stayed taller and kept its shape a lot better than the other one did. So it's easier for the dunes to stay taller, and also for the plants to anchor into that plant material. And the plants also provide a source of nutrients for the plants that are growing in it, so they'll generally do better if there is that source of nutrients in the dune for them to those rock snail eggs earlier, but I do have some other snail eggs in here I wanted to show you as well. So So this is a lightning whelk. That is the state shell of Texas. And this is the egg cases that they make. They can lay about 15,000 eggs at a time, but then only around 13 to 18 of them will hatch. And then they'll eat some of the other ones that didn't hatch, so they're carnivores right from the start. And then you can find these sometimes and you can kind of rattle them, and sometimes you'll hear there's still kind of shells left behind in them, so they're kind of like nature's little rattle for us. If you guys would like to, you can take a look at this. If you guys want to see them or anything. And I do have hand sanitizer for afterwards.
They do well here, like where they grow.
I know people do use them as like jewelry. They'll polish them and then they'll make them into jewelry pieces like pendants and stuff. And then in some cultures they're known to be good luck, like eye watching over you that wards away demons. Have any questions for me before we finish up our tour?
No, great tour.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope you guys learned some things, and feel free to use the hand sanitizer before you go.